Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video and coming series, we'll be learning HTML and CSS, but not with just slides and videos and definitions, but by actually developing components and small pieces of the UIs. And while doing that, we'll be learning actually how this works. Also, as an extra thing to learn, we will be also doing designs to HTML CSS, which means you'll be looking at design, like for example, if you heard about Photoshop, and how you can make that design live using your CSS and HTML. So for this one, we'll be using some challenges which are online in the front-end mentor. And this one will help you to start from scratch, a newbie, beginner, until professional exercises. And they have also free options and premium options, so I will start looking at free options so it can help you to start as well. This video is for complete beginners, so if you have already experience with HTML and CSS, might not be this fit for you. Maybe just look out for my next videos, which will be more challenging. Now what we'll do, I will pick up an exercise from here. We'll say free and we'll say for newbie. Okay, someone who just started, and let's look at something which have only HTML and CSS. We have here a few options. Let's start with this one, which look a very simple one. So for this one, what you can do, it have details on what you need to do, so that's something you have to learn as well. So when you're a developer, it's not only developing, you need to learn also how to read the requirements and how you can understand it and make sure you are developing according to these requirements. So what we will do here, we'll look at first at the components. So basically here we need a card, and this is the desktop view, and this is also the mobile view. So we need a responsive card, okay? And if you come down here, you'll have that this one is coming with few things and images, okay, for your mobile and desktop layout. Also, you have a style guide with fonts and colors already given to you, which is a good thing. Also, they give you an optimized images, so you don't have to export it by yourself, and also to have a readme file, okay? Let's start the challenge, and you have to log in with your GitHub. I'll just do that. Now I'm logged in. I'll click start challenge, and it will give you some guide on what things you can do step by step. So it tells you that this download that you will do, it will have pre-optimized assets for you. So already like the image you need for your card will be there, the fonts as well, and the style guide. Then I go next. The design download file will be Figma and Stretch, but for that we need a pro or a paid account. So for me, I already have a paid account, and a reason why I did that is so I can explain you and show you how you can in real time debug it. But for yourself, please don't go and pay for anything. And by end of this video, I'll show you how you can use images, and you can get overall idea of the sizes and so on. So skip this one, and then you have a readme file with all the requirements in your download. And again, just using whatever you want. If you want React, if you want HTML5 and CSS3, if you want libraries. So if you are a beginner, of course, all these things will not make sense to you. So this is complete beginner. We'll stick to HTML5 and CSS. Now let's start coding. I will go back and I will download my starter. You can see here it's downloading. I'll open the file. So this is the file I got download. If you open it up, you'll have design folder, and design folder have these designs for you. So just open it up. So this is your design, okay? So if you have free account, you'll come up with this. So you need to build these versions of your card, okay? So here, let me start from the beginning. So this one is active state, like you say here in the written in the card, in the image name, which means when you hover on your button, okay? Then you have a normal version, and then you have the mobile version, okay? So that's the design, and that's what we need to build. If we go back, this is your image or assets that I already given you, okay? So you will use these images when we build our product, which is a really good thing. Now let's go back and open the README file and also the style guide. So this is a style guide when I open it, because I'm using Visual Studio Code as my default editor. It's open up in that. So you can use any of your favorite editors you want. So when I open the style guide, you can see here, it's giving us some guide of layout. Also to give us the design to get to the font width. So the mobile, they are expecting the width will be 375 pixels and the desktop will be maximum 1440 pixels. Nicely also it gives us the colors. So we have the dark green here, and we have also the creamy color they're using, as well with the dark blue and the grayish blue. Okay, so and the typography, it gives us the paragraph. So the default font size will be 14 pixels, as well as it gives us the font, which is really good. So we have two fonts, and these are the links we will get from. Okay, and these fonts are free. Now if I go back to my the folder that I download, I will go to the README file to read the instructions. Okay, so for this challenge, you'll see here that you need a basic understanding of HTML CSS. That's why I'm saying this one is for complete beginner. Okay, your challenge is to build out this product preview card component and get it looking as close as to the design as possible. You can use any tools you like to help you complete the challenge. So if you have got something you'd like to practice, feel free to give it a go. Okay, your users will be able to view optimal layout depending on their devices, screen sizes, which means it needs to be responsive. If you keep resizing your window, the card should not broke, you only see half of it. It should fit whenever you resize. And also the hover and the focus state should be enabled. After that, there are just more instructions where you can find stuff in the folder we downloaded, which we did, and then how you can upload your GitHub and deploy your project as well. So we'll not do these steps, but because as you're still beginner, it's more about now learning HTML CSS. But I think at some point when I get more advanced in the exercises, I will start covering these topics as well. Now let's look at our project and let's start actually from fresh. So what I will do, I will close this one and close this one as well and open my folder, and I'll just create my project inside there. I mean, you can create anywhere in your machine. I'll just create it here for the sake of this video, and let's say my app. Okay, and I want to start from scratch. As I said, this one is for complete beginner. Okay, now what I will do, I will drag this folder in my Visual Studio Code. So first things first, we have to create an HTML file. I will call it index.html. Okay, and if you remember, or if you're familiar with, or even if not yet, the HTML file is just like a Word file where you put all your contents in there, images, text, buttons, whatever you want, but it have a specific way of declaration. So in Visual Studio Code already it can do that for me by just doing this, and doctype.html, and I can do HTML. Oops. So you have your HTML, so everything needs to be inside there. Then inside HTML you have head, okay, and inside and next to head you'll have body, and that's where your content will go. Okay, now let's do an example and let's print a big heading, H1, my first heading. Okay, and in Visual Studio Code I already have an extension that helped me to run that via server. So I'll just go and click this, and it should open for me in a browser. There we go, right? But let's say if you're not using Visual Studio Code, you can just go to your folder and just click on it, and it will open for you as well. And this one is pointing to the path in your machine, not like this one, it's running through some mock server in here. Okay, the good thing for this one, whenever I do a change, it will auto reload for me. So let's say my first heading 111, click save, go back to my browser. This one's already reloaded by itself, and that one through the server. But the one I did directly from the file or the folder is not reloading by itself. I have to go by myself and click reload, and then I can see the difference. So during my tutorials, I'll keep using the live server loader, because that will make my work much easier. And now let's show you something. So anything you need to go on the screen, it needs to be between the two body tag, okay? Okay, now let's start building our components. So I opened the designs. It's using Figma for this project as a design system. So this is our card. So what I will try to do, I will try to zoom in, okay? So this is the mobile view. I'll make it a bit smaller. And you can see here you have the normal state, right, on top. And then you have the hover state. And here is the mobile design, okay? Now, when we look at this, let's start with this one first. And what you see is that we have like two sections, okay? We have the background, okay? And then we have our card. And the card itself is divided into two sections, okay? So why I'm saying that, when you start designing, and most if you're building something from scratch, you need to understand first how the layout is, so you can know how you can write your HTML elements, okay? So let's assume for now, because only we have the card alone in the view, so the background, we'll keep it as the body itself, so we'll give color to the body for now, and then the card will sit in the middle, okay? So the card will use, of course, a block element that we can use to write anything in it or put anything inside of it, which is a div element, okay? And maybe what I will do, I'll give it a class name card, for example, okay? And reason why we're using classes, for example, if I want this, when I build it and finish it, if you want to use it somewhere else, I'll just copy it and paste it somewhere else, okay? So the main div will be the class of card, and then I'm saying here it have two sections beneath it directly. We have the image on the left, and we have the section on the right, which is the white section, okay? So we will go one by one. Now let me do that. So we have two childs of this card, okay? We have one will be here, which let's go with a class also name card image, for example, okay? And the other child will be also, we'll do a div element for now, and it will be, for example, class of card content, okay? So just make sure you're naming things which make also some sense, so it's easy later. You can go change it, or if you want to debug it later when the app is too big. So these things really matters. Now we have two children, okay, of the card itself, and the first card will have some image tag, okay? And let's see later how we'll get the source. I'm just putting the layout now. And the second one will have a lot of things. So for now, I'll keep it empty. Just say hello for now here, okay? Now what we have to do, let's start first getting the CSS and the layout of the main card, okay? So the way we can do that, again, we need a CSS folder. So I'll go here and let's name it styles.css. So that will hold your CSS styling, okay? And let's start, for example, with body first, and let's give it a background color. And now we need the background color from here, from our actual design. So in Figma, the way I can do that, I can just go click here, and you see its whole thing selected. And on the right side here, you have a debugging tool, okay? And if I do here something like this, it shows like standard styling, okay? And if I click it, it will give me actual CSS and everything. But it's not recommended to go and exactly copy the width and the height and so on all the time, okay? So at the moment, I'm only interested in the background color, which is right here, okay? So I'll just copy that and put it right there. Let's save this one and open our browser. And as you can see here, it's not working. It's still white. I'll make my browser big. So it's still white, right? And reason why is we didn't import our styles CSS file into our HTML. So the way to do that, we go in between our head tag elements and we add a new element called link, and we'll say relation, so rel equal, and it is a style sheet that stands for CSS file. Okay, and then we have another attribute called ref, where we put the link to our file. So because we have it in the same level in our project, so we can just do this, and my Visual Studio Code is helping me. I'll just do styles.css. okay, then close my link tag element like that, click save, and if you notice, this background now is not white anymore. I'll comment this and save, so you see the difference. So it's become white. Again, I will uncomment it and it's become creamy background color. So the first step for us is done, which was adding this background. Okay, now let's go into our card itself, and you can see here, I'll make this one a little bit smaller. So the card, it is a square, it have like certain width, and the way you can inspect it, I'll just click here, and when I'm clicking, you can see here it's saying rectangle on the top, and down it's saying W fixed 600. So W stand for width and H stand for the height. So this is height and this is width. Okay, so what I will do, the height I will not change it, because sometimes if you have dynamic data coming, you may have longer headers, longer text. So I'm not going to set the height, but I'm going to set the width. So again, I'll go here and I can see here, see when I select this blue around it, okay, it's having width is 600 pixels. Okay, and here there are also other details, like if there's any border, if there's any padding, and so on. Okay, other thing we need also, we need the width, and if you see the corners, I'll select outside, they're a little bit curved. Let me zoom in to show you. You see they're a little bit curved here. Okay, so the way you do in CSS, you call it border radius, and I'll show you how to debug that as well. Go back again here, click, and here my Figma is already giving me details. So it's saying the width of this element is 600 pixels, the border radius, which is curved here, is 10 pixels. Okay, and the background of my card, it is white. Okay, now what we'll do, that we'll copy our class name, which is card, and go back to our style file. And the way you access your class names in CSS, you do dot and then you put your class name. Okay, so I will say the background, you can do either background alone or background color, both of them will work. And we do 3F, which means white, and I have some tool installed on my Visual Studio Code. It can help me to see the colors when I write them. So you can see this one is full white and this one is creamy color. Okay, so back to our card. So background color is white and the border radius is 10 pixels. I can just copy this like that and paste it here. Okay, now click save, open my browser, and you can see here that's my card, right? And the border radius is 10 pixels. I'll put the size to normal, so 100% zooming. Okay, now you can see my width is taking, the card's taking the full width, and the reason why, it is a block element. Okay, as long as you don't set a width for it, it will take 100% of your browser. Okay, now I'll come here. If you remember when we did debugging, the width was 600 pixels. Click save, and there we go. It is now just 600 pixels. Okay, now one more thing is that you can see here there's some space here, okay, between this and the top. And the reason why, like, the browsers have default styling, and if I go here to the body, you can see when I hover on it, it is blue and orange. So the orange is the margin, and you can see here in your inspector, okay? Even though I didn't add any margins here. So every browsers have the default size. So usually when you start any project, you reset few things, okay? And when you do star, that's mean all the elements in your HTML, okay? So I'm saying everything set the margins to 0, everything set the paddings to 0, okay? And also there's something called box sizing, okay? And I want it to be border box. And what that box sizing does is, I'll give you an example of, let's say we have a div element and its height is 10 pixels, okay? For example, the height is 10, and also have padding of 2, and also have margin of 2, okay? So that's become 14 pixels. Usually what it does not add up those margins and padding into that height itself. It will add it on top, which sometimes might break your UI. Most of the times you want those paddings and margins to be included within your actual full height of the element. And that's what box sizing set it to border box will do for us, okay? So that's out of the way. Let's go back to our card. Let's open up this design, and you can see here our card, it is in the middle of the page, okay? So how I can make it in the middle of the page? I will go back to my browser. The way you can centralize an element, not vertically, horizontally, like right and left. If you have the width, you just do margin left auto, okay, and margin right auto, and that one will center it for us, okay? And if we can do short ones, which can be, for example, like this, 0 for up and down, auto for right and left, save, and that work. And if you keep it just auto even, it will do the same thing, okay? So you can't use a margin, if you notice, for up and down to vertically center it. That will not work, okay? For now, what we will do, we will not vertically center it, but we'll see, for example, another way to debug something else. So let's just add a space on top, okay? And if you can see here, if I select my element, then select on top lane here, it's telling me there's 175 pixels difference between that top lane and the border of my card, okay? So what I will do, I'll say margin top is 175 pixels, right and left will be auto, and I will do 0 for down and auto again. So that means this is top, right, bottom, left, okay? Click save and open up, and there we go. Good. Now let's get inside our card and let's open our styling again. So what the way we have is that we have images, and then we have the side here, and we have them next to each other. Now how we can get two children sit next to each other in CSS? There are different ways, but the new one, which is standard one now, is using flex. So we can say here display flex to the parent, okay? And we go back to our UI, and I don't have an image yet, so I have to import an image. Let's create an image folder, and I have to copy the image from the resources that they give us. So that's my app. Let's go to the resource, images, let's copy these two, and one more up to my app, go to images and paste them there. Okay, now we go back to our HTML, and before we added an image tag, what we will do now is just import that image. So inside source we will do like this, and then we access our images folder and then our image. Okay, so for now we're doing desktop, so let's stick to desktop. Another thing, this will work, okay, you can see our image, big image. The other thing is that when you're using image tag from standard ways, and if you want your HTML to be semantic or to be correct, okay, is that you have to add an alternative text. Okay, it's like short description you give an image, and let's say put here perfume, okay, because we know this image is for perfume. Click save, and it will not show there, okay. But when it comes to times where something called accessibility is for the customers which are like having issues with visual, or they can't see, so they use something called readers and so on, so they can't see the image, but that tool that's reading for them the UI will read that there is an image there and to read perfume, so they know there's an image of a perfume there, okay. So usually you'll have more descriptions there, but for now it's just like an idea how we use the image tag. Now that's out of the way, you'll notice two things. As soon as we add the image, so the image and the text next to it, they're next to each other, that's what we wanted, but the image is too big, and also we can't see that white background anymore. And the way you can inspect it, if you see here, that's your card, right? And we put 600 pixels. The image is fitting that 600 pixels because the image is too big, okay? And then it pushed my text outside. So how we can resolve that? So first thing first, we will go to CSS and tell it, okay, I have my card and it have two children. I want them to be 50-50 next to each other. Because if you see the design, if I open it again, they are like half. So this is 50%, is 50%, okay? So I will go to styles and I will say card and all the div elements which they are direct child of my card, okay? Direct child. And the way you do that, again, dot card, that's a class name, and this one is saying direct, okay? Don't access the divs inside another divs and so on. No, I only want the direct child of my card of div elements, okay? And there's a property you can use, again, flex, because we said the top, not that, because on the top we said is display flex, right? So we can use this one here for direct children, flex, and we'll say it is 50%, okay? We click save. And let's go back to our browser, and if we inspect now here, you'll see it's still going out, okay? And reason why, because the image is still forcing out of the box, and we have to fix that image tag first, okay? Now we can go here and we can say, we give a class before here to our div card image, so it's a card image and the image tag inside of it, okay? We say display block, because usually the image tags are inline blocks, so we say display block. And reason why, because I want to give it a width, I will say width is 100%, and also the height will be 100%. And I'll add one thing more, so the image can fit inside my box. This is a property called object fit, okay? And I'll say cover, like set it as a cover of that side. Click save, and you see immediately it jumped in and it didn't stretch or anything, okay? Because we use this property, it just work it out and make sure it's fitting in that new box without destroying or stretching your image, okay? That's really good. So it's kind of, we are done with the left side, right? It's nice and easy. Now we have to move to next side and add elements in there. So how we can do that? Let's go back to our design. So we have a few elements here. Let's start adding them one by one. Let's go back to our HTML. We remove this hello there, and let's start adding elements. So we have here like a heading thing, small one, then we have a big heading, then text. And here, I mean, you can't name things any way we want. The way it should be usually if you're using semantic HTML, even the headings have to be in order. Like you can't have H3 and then H2. Even everyone is doing it, to be honest. But we need to come again to rules, and if you have very strict company which have accessibility standards need to be followed, it will break, it will come back with problems and reports that you have to fix later. And if you end up by having a big project, that will be a nightmare. So best thing is building the habits from beginning to follow the semantic HTML. So I will do first one, for example, in H2. And the H2 will have this perfume text in it, okay, which is this one. Then next to it, there is a big text, okay. And let's give it an H3 here, and let's copy that text. And here I can just click on it and then go to content and copy it. okay? And then we have some text here. I'll copy that text, and that one, it can be just standard paragraph. Oops. Okay, now let's go to next ones, which is we have a price here. Okay, now for this we have two prices. Okay, we have let's put P first. Let's add class name of prices, for example, and this one will have two elements inside of it for purpose of styling. It's called span, and span, they are inline elements and they don't add up anything to your UI, and we just use them, for example, if you want to add some more custom CSS usually. Okay, like you want to bold some word in middle of a big paragraph or something like that, or different colors. Like here we have different styling, so I'll do class, for example, priv, so no, for current price, for example, and here will be 149.9 and dollars. And let's add another span for the previous one. If you can see here, it have like a strike through on it. Okay, let me zoom in. You see here, it's like striking on it. So we need different style for that. So I will add another span. I will say class of priv. Okay, and I'll close it, and let's add dollar sign and 169.9. Okay, then we have button down there. Okay, now let's add a button element. Okay, and let's give it a class name. And why I'm giving it a class name, just to practice. You can have this button everywhere in your app and have same styling. So if I create it once and apply that side of that class name once, I can reuse it as much as I want. So let's call it, for example, action BTN, and BTN stands for button. Okay, and let's say add to cart, and later we see how to add that icon when we are styling. Okay, good. So let's start with the top section, and we start styling the perfume. Okay, now I will go here. First, I will see, when you start looking, you start from the top, right? We have some spacings in here around, right? So that will be applied to our cart content. So I will go here, add this class, and let's style it and see how much. So if I click on this perfume, because that's my top element, and then hover on the top, you can see it's 32, which means 32 pixels far from the top to my text. Okay, so that's my padding on the top. Now let's see on here, I want on this image, I want to see how much far it is from it, but because the way they did this Figma is not allowing me to do it, but I will presume it's also 32 pixels, and also down here is 32, and on the right 32, so my assumption will be right. Usually if you see them left, right, top same, the left one also will be the same. So padding is 32 pixels. Okay, and that one will give me the space here. You can see here now it's pushed, right? If I comment it out, my content is stuck. Okay, now let's uncomment it. Now the first level is done. Good. Now next level is the elements themselves, and we start with perfume. Let's go to here and inspect it. I click on perfume, then I look at my right side of inspector, and you can see here it's saying me the font family is multi-thread, the font size is 12 pixels, the font weight is 500. So now we have to import first the font. Okay, let's see how we can import the fonts. And let me show you how you can search by yourself. You remember when we read the README file, it was a Google font. I can just copy the name and do this, font download. Okay, and then you can go to Google Fonts. All right, and let's see first, we need 500. And if I check others, that's another font. This is again the same font set at 500, so I need 500. This is another font. And this is again multi-thread, but 700. So I need 2 font weight for the same one. And the way you can do that is, let me go here and select anything I have. Okay, and I'll show you how to do it. So you have two ways. Either you can download actual fonts as files and import them, or you can use a CDN. For today, we'll just go to the CDN. That's the easiest and quickest one. And we have two fonts. We set 500 and 700. So I'll go here 500. I will add it, and I need 700. Okay, good. Now I have two added. I'll go here and I check. So I have Montserrat 500 and 700. So you have two ways. Either you can do import, okay, or you can use the link. And the most common one is to use the link. Okay, so I'll copy this, and where you'll paste it in your head section. Okay, so I'll go here and paste it there. And what it pastes for me, I'll show you. It's pasted for me again a link. Okay, so first there is here some standard ones. So it's understand that we're taking fonts from the Google fonts. Okay, so it doesn't break. And then it's giving us here the CDN or the API to get the font. And you can see here that's the font, and the family is Montserrat, and the font weight is 500 and 700. Okay, and we click save, and let's again get our browser big. And then you have to add these ones in your style.css. Sorry. Only thing I'm seeing here is that I'm having two fonts which I don't need. So let's dismiss this and remove all, and only keep the Montserrat. Okay, so we have to be careful by that. There were other default ones selected. Okay, I'll remove this again and just paste again. So make sure again I only have the Montserrat font. Let's check there's nothing else. There we go. Good. Click save. Now I go to my styles, and what I will do, the default family will be Montserrat. And why I say that, because the normal text, that is the font. So what I will do, I do font family in the body to everything, or I can do it with here as well. Everything will have this font family. Okay, and it should be between quotes. Okay, now if I go to this guy and let's style it how it is now, it's inside my card content and then H2 element tag. So I will do like this, card content, and find for me any H2 inside of it. Okay, and this will be the styling. The color would be this color. I'll copy this here. Okay, the font size will be 12 pixels. So that is the size of your text. And the font style, usually these ones will be everywhere. So it will be standard one. So I'll put it as well here. So I don't have to keep redoing it every time. Then you have something letter spacing, and letter spacing is the space here between the letters. Okay, you can't see this one, they're next to each other, but this one, they made up some space between it, and that's what this property for. So we have letter spacing of 5 pixels. So letter spacing 5 pixels. Okay, let's click save and open up our browser. You can see here it's working.